It's time to have a real conversation about the iPhone 14 and how it's probably the worst upgrade since the iPhone 5C. And if all you remember the 5C, it was basically the plastic covered version of the iPhone 5. I believe the iPhone 5 anyway. A long time ago, the 5 didn't sell well, so they basically rehashed the same phone and put plastic coverings on it. And they were like pastel, like green and yellow and really crazy colors. But the phone, well, it really wasn't an upgrade at all. And that's really how I feel about the iPhone 14. And it's not even about feeling, it's quite objective, really. There's almost no difference in this phone other than a different micron size for the camera with a different aperture, faster shutter speed. So it's supposed to get, I think it's like 50% better low light photos, maybe it's 60%. It's a decent amount, but the thing is the iPhone 13 already takes pretty good low light photos. I don't really see that as much of a big upgrade. That's definitely not a real reason to go out and buy a new iPhone 14 if you have an iPhone 13. And honestly, not even much of an upgrade from the 12, but you get the picture. So, yes, really the only things they changed, they added the crash sensor in there. So that's new. They do have the crash sensor and the emergency SOS stuff, and no SIM. So if you want to be part of the no SIM club, then, well, at least in the United States, you can go ahead and go get one. So not a whole lot. I mean, same resolution, same screen, essentially, basically the same chip as last year. And this is something that got glossed over a lot. So when you take a look at the iPhone 14 and the 14 Pro, there is a big difference. One, the iPhone 14 has the same processor as last year. However, it's the one from the Pro model. So effectively, if you buy an iPhone 14, it's like buying an iPhone 13 Pro, but without the niceties. So it doesn't matter. You're not getting the 120 hertz ProMotion display. You're not getting the third camera. You're not getting a lot of the extra stuff that the Pro would. So there's basically, and here's the thing. Let's just have a real conversation real quick. Nobody, well, not nobody. I mean, not a lot of people are going out and buying a new $800 phone every single year. Unless you're in like the T-Mobile Jump program or if you're in some sort of other upgrade program. I get it. That makes sense. If you pay the extra money so you can upgrade yearly, that makes sense for you. I would do the same thing. However, for most people, it makes no sense to go from an iPhone 13 to a 14. It really doesn't, unless you just want slightly better low light photos and you want a crash sensor and emergency SOS messages. And that, like, out in the middle of nowhere with the satellite emergency SOS stuff that they saw in the keynote. So, yeah, and you can get it in purple. So not a whole lot of new changes here, really reinventing the wheel. And quite honestly, I think it's really lazy. I think it's a really lazy, disingenuous effort on the part of Apple to do this. And here's the thing. They have their own thing. They don't call 120 hertz on their Pro model 120 hertz. They call it ProMotion. And somebody I saw was talking about this the other day, how really they want to hammer home the Pro model. They want you to know if you're getting a Pro model, you're getting these features. But when you're paying $800, if you look around the room at what you can get for $800, especially after the Pixel 6a was heavily criticized for only having a 60 hertz refresh rate screen at $400, now we're talking about a phone that is almost twice as much money, still only has a 60 hertz refresh rate on the screen. Not even Quad HD Plus, it's only 1080p. So there are a lot of things there that really, under normal circumstances, if a new Android phone came out at $800 and didn't have 120 hertz refresh rate, people would say throw it on the scrap bin. You would have so much angst from people in the tech community going, don't buy this, don't buy this. This is crap. This is 800. How could they sell you an $800 phone with no 120 hertz refresh rate? And that's exactly what you would hear. So, I mean, it was bad enough that MKBHD with the V60 from LG 2 years ago had a flagship processor, 1080p screen, 60 hertz refresh rate, and he called it a mid-ranger. A mid-range phone. It was a flagship phone from LG, called it a mid-ranger. Is the iPhone 14 a mid-ranger? I mean, clearly it's not, because it's very, very powerful. I mean, if you look at it on paper, and here's the other argument. The chipset in the iPhone 14, even though it is last year's, with one extra core to the GPU. That's basically the difference. The iPhone 13 and 13 Pro, essentially the same processor. There was an extra core in the GPU. So it's 4 for the iPhone 13 and 5 for the iPhone 13 Pro. So you get 5 GPU cores in the processor on the iPhone 14. But you don't really see any benefits out of that. Basically not at all. And also you get the new Photon engine or Photon drive, whatever it's called for the camera stuff. But that's basically just going to give you better computational photography. And largely, the iPhone 13 has pretty phenomenal camera set on it. The battery life is not any bigger. They're saying it's going to be, I think, like 13% better just because of the power efficiency with the new chip. But, I mean, it's basically the same chip. So, I mean, you're probably not going to see much of a benefit there. So, I can't call this phone really an upgrade. Go buy the iPhone 13. The iPhone 13 you can get for $699 now. They dropped it $100. Still the baseline 128 gigabytes of storage. You're not going to miss the extra core in the GPU. You're probably not going to miss the crash sensor, which you can get if you decide to buy an Apple Watch Series 8 anyway. I mean, you could go get an Apple Watch Series 8 and you could get an iPhone 13 and save a little bit on that bundle and get effectively the same technology capabilities without having to go buy a new iPhone 14. The iPhone 14 Pro is a different conversation. Yes, they added the extra camera, 48 megapixel camera. It's got the new, I keep wanting to call it the Lonely Island. Is that little text box that they turned into the pill capsule that used to be the notch that morphs around into different shapes and sizes and purposes. That's okay. But of course, we just got snowed over because, well, that's the cool upgrade. There's a new software feature they could really put in any phone, but they're only going to put in the Pros. And also why they took the iPhone 13 Pro off of the board. If you go to Apple, you can't buy the iPhone 13 Pro from them anymore. You can't buy the iPhone 12 Pro. You can only buy the 14 Pro, and you can buy the 13, and you can buy the 12. No other Pro models, though. Only the 14 Pro. So this is just another way Apple is trying to get people funneled into buying the phones that they want them to buy, get the new ones and all that jazz. And it's really not, it's not an upgrade. And I try to call things as I see them. I mean, I talked about the Fold 4 for having minimal improvements. I've talked about many other phones for having minimal improvements, and that seems to be where we're at now. Give us less and still charge us the same amount, and that's been the ongoing mantra for the longest time. And actually, Apple will probably save some money because, as you know, or you should know, the North American model at least will not have a SIM card in it anymore for the iPhone 14 or 14 Pro. It will be an internal embedded SIM or eSIM. It will not have a SIM tray, so they're saving money by not having to include the SIM tray and not having to include a SIM tool remover. So not only basically there won't be anything in the box but a phone and a cable anymore. And I can bet you soon the cable's probably going to be gone next year. That's just how things are going. No charging brick, no earbuds anymore. There's not going to be a SIM removal tool because there's no SIM tray anymore on the American model. So they're continually saving money and not pushing the envelope anymore, giving us new exciting features, reserving that for the Pro seemingly and saying, here's last year's phone with a different color on it. Pay us the same amount of money. I don't know. Anyway, so I need to get my lights set up back here because I didn't want to, I mean, I haven't done any yelling. This is really just a conversation with me trying to let you know, look, it's going to be a good phone. I don't want to make it seem like it's a trash phone. I mean, if you look at it on paper, it's still more powerful, I think, than the Snapdragon 8 Plus Generation 1 that's in the Fold 4. But you're never going to realize that power. You're not getting all the advanced camera modules. You're not getting a Quad HD Plus screen, not a 4K screen. It's not going to do some of the other professional pro level stuff that the Pro model does. So it's really arbitrary. You could pick up an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 14 and there would be zero tangible difference in day-to-day performance other than just the battery life improvements, because the battery life in the iPhone 13 tremendously improved. Fantastic. So it's going to get good battery life. It's going to be the, best iPhone 14, best iPhone model you can buy at the $800 price point, but they've just gotten really lazy, and it seems like they're more interested than ever in profit margins than they are in delivering any sort of a newer, unique, or frontier-pushing experience. I mean, of course, we don't really look to Apple for that. Apple hasn't innovated in basically forever on the feature front. More of a let's take things away than give us new stuff, and we'll just keep refining the same wheel that still won't let you move your icons around anywhere you want them to on the screen. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna wrap it up. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, you have any comments, you want to talk about it, if you share some of the same sentiment, please go to the comment section. We can have a discussion about it. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.